Jeb Baugh. Did I say that right? Jeb Baugh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, you made a name for yourself putting an icon in the conservative movement who's been doing it for probably longer than you've been alive. Glenn Beck at TPUSA.
My name is Jeb Baugh. I'm an
Yes.
aviation student here at the University of North Dakota. And I really liked your point, question everything. And one question I have for you, Glenn, is a lot of young American and conservatives are starting to notice that Israel has an overwhelming lobby over the United States government, and we have unconditionally supported them. We have fought their wars in the Middle East. Bibi Netanyahu came to our Congress in the 90s, told us a list of countries that we need to take out. Some were Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, etc. Through those wars, we have lost trillions of dollars. We have lost American servicemen.
They will.
First or Israel first?
No one's clapping. No one's clapping for your point.
First or Israel first? It's an easy question. Charlie was America first.
What is happening is we have Islamists occupying our countries.
When you asked him straight up, why do we need to support Israel? I thought that was a very important question that needs to be asked by more people. What made you get up on stage and ask him that and make him sweat so much he had to take his jacket off to try and answer it, which he never did?
He avoided the whole question as a whole and just started talking about radical Islam. Well, I originally wasn't going to go to the Glenn Beck event. I was going to go to the Charlie Kirk event, but obviously it's a tragedy what happened to Charlie. Some of my buddies went, and it was a last minute decision. I bought the ticket probably like 30 minutes before the actual event started, and I found the last seat in the bottom floor because I was like, I need to ask Glenn Beck a question on Israel. And I kind of came up with the question like an hour before I asked it. I was just thinking like, what should I ask him? Because I've been studying this stuff for a while, and I think it's important to acknowledge it. And I think a lot of conservatives, turn a blind eye to our overwhelming support for Israel.
So why do you oppose our support with Israel? What about supporting Israel, the America's greatest ally, as they say, which is a very interesting statement in and of itself, being that they've never joined us in a single war and shed any of
Yeah,
our
we
blood.
Yeah, we've never fought next to a Israeli soldier ever, which is very odd considering they're our greatest ally. Well, I don't think we need to be involved in the Middle East. I think we destabilize the Middle East, and in turn, it causes a refugee crisis in the Western world, which I think immigration is one of my biggest issues. I talk about that a lot, and I don't think there wouldn't be massive immigrant problems in Europe or America if it wasn't for our involvement in the Middle East and destroying these people's homes, destabilizing their countries, because we can't blame the immigrant themselves, but we can blame our government for destroying those people's homes. And I think Israel has a large part in doing that. We sent them billions of dollars for their wars and their genocide in Gaza, which I think is inhumane and anti-Christian. And I hate how a lot of Christians, support Israel and think it's biblical. And almost to me, it seems like how the left tries to tie into people's emotions. I think that's what conservatives do, are like, oh, well, this is biblical supporting, Israel. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Syrian crisis, we had 3 million Syrians had to flee the country because of the civil war there. The
Mhm.
United States, and I blame all administrations, all the way back to
Mhm.
Obama for this. Um, they crossed red line after red line. The United States never did anything. And so that only encouraged more bloodshed and more immigration out of the country. The invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Afghanistan, uh, you know, you could sit there and say that it's justified with Afghanistan because Al Qaeda was supposedly
Mhm.
there, even though we didn't find them there. We found them in Pakistan.
Mhm.
Well, you can't invade a nuclear power like Pakistan, so we had to do a surgical strike after 10 years of shedding blood there.
Mhm.
Um,
I
and
I
the
almost think.
problem with that is who is benefiting from all of this destabilization? The only one
Mhm.
benefiting from it is Israel. It's not the United
Mhm.
States. We're not
Mhm.
benefiting
Also,
anything.
also, I think it's the military-industrial complex as well. I mean, we spent what, like $20 trillion in Afghanistan, something like that, and the whole war on terror. And the only people that really benefited and got that money was the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, there's an old saying in the United States: whenever one war ends, the politicians start receiving money from the military-industrial complex to start another, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
they have consumables that need to be consumed, and then they need to replace those consumables: bullets, bombs, planes, fuel, all that stuff. And if there's not a war going on, they go out of business. So a lot of people online are accusing you of being anti-Semitic. A lot of people have accused me of that. So why are you not anti-Semitic? Are you anti-Semitic?
I wouldn't consider myself anti-Semitic. I actually know a lot of Jewish people. I think that this whole ideology of Zionism is almost like Jewish supremacy, if that. So I would say I'm against that 100%, and I think that is liberal Jewish people and also conservative Jewish people that consider themselves Zionists. And I would say most Jewish people are Zionist.
And that is the thing when you talk about Zionism, the founders of Zionism were all atheists. They were not observant Jews.
Very, and even Israel as a state today, it's very secular.
Yeah. So I mean, you even have the Hasidic Jews in Israel beefing with the Israeli security forces because they're trying to force them to go into the military, and according to their religion, they can't serve in the military because Israel is not a Jewish state; it is a secular state. And so there's a lot of oppression even going on within the Jewish community within Israel. So you think that Glenn Beck answered your question or no?
No, I don't. I think he do what most neoconservative politicians do. He's like, well, every country has lobbies for their own interests. Seems to me Israel's like the one thing Democrats and Republicans always agree on. And also, he started talking about radical Islam, which that's what all these neoconservatives do. They try to put Christians and Muslims against one another because if Christians can think that Muslims are the big boogeyman and we need to go in there and blow up these people's home and they're all terrorists, which is completely marginalizing a whole group of people. And I think that is the wrong thing to do. I think that's anti-Christian as well. So yeah, no, Glenn Beck did not answer my question, and he got very nervous. He even took off his jacket.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because Glenn Beck is Mormon, and Mormons are not even considered Christian by most Protestants, and definitely not considered Christian by the Catholic Church. And yet, there's a beef between Mormons and Jews over where Zion is. Mormons believe Zion is in Utah, basically, and Jews believe Zion is in Palestine. So they don't even get along. But here you have Glenn Beck has been a shill for the state of Israel for decades.
His whole life, yeah.
I've listened to him for over 20 years. When he first got started, he was shilling out for them from the very beginning. So it's not a surprise to me that a guy like Glenn Beck is going to sit there and he's going to advocate for Israel. And the reason is it's pretty clear. The Israelis have tremendous economic power over the United States. All up in all of the major corporations, you have Zionists involved. The biggest issue, though, is not the Jewish Zionist, but the biggest issue we actually have is Christian Zionists. They outnumber Jewish Zionists 100 to 1 in this country. So you're clearly a Christian, but you're clearly not a Christian Zionist. Why did you not fall into the same Christian Zionism that many of your fellow Christians have fallen into?
Well, I've been studying this stuff, I'd probably say since about 2022, and it just doesn't seem right. I mean, obviously they kill a lot of Christians in Palestine, which is not right either. I've seen plenty of videos of, Jewish people in Israel spitting on Christians, which they don't respect them. And I think that they just want to destabilize the region, and I don't think it is the Christian thing to do. And a lot of Jewish people push, I would say degenerate policies. I mean, feminism, second wave feminism was a total Jewish movement. There's a lot of like pride parades and stuff like that in Israel. It's a very secular state, I see it as, which I don't care if someone's personally gay, but I don't think that should be pushed on society. So I don't think that the state of Israel is it aligns with Christian values.
That's interesting. I like that a lot of guys your age, men and women your age, and young kids younger than you are having the same opinion now, which is drastically different. I mean, the Judeo-Christian value slogan has only existed since the existence of Israel. Right?
Yeah.
So Christianity is a lot older than the state of Israel, and you didn't have Judeo, like it's an antithesis. They don't match, right?
Yeah, and they even try to say, well, America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. And it's like that, yeah, that term wasn't even invented.
And speaking of that, like I get a lot of heat from Christian conservatives over my viewpoint on this, but my viewpoint is based up on facts and not opinion, and that is that the United States itself is not even founded on Christianity. The Constitution does not mention Christianity at all, does not mention Jesus at all, and the
Hmm.
founders were deists, not even Christians. They were
Hmm. I,
Freemason
I,
deists. And
yes,
the
but I think,
reason why a lot of people say that this is a Christian country is because it's a Christian majority country, but that
yes,
doesn't
exactly,
make
exactly.
it a Christian country. Because if you want a Christian country, move to the Vatican. That's like Christian law is the law
Yeah.
of
I
Vatican
don't I
City,
don't
right?
think America necessarily, was ever founded as a theocracy. And I think the whole idea that I think a theocracy is bad. I don't think any great empire was a theocracy. But yes, the majority was Christian, and it was like
Yeah.
that for a long time.
And so even within Christianity, you have variant different sects, and this is what the founding fathers wanted to protect because they came from England mostly at the beginning, where having different opinion from the state church of England was basically a death threat, right? Like you
Mhm.
could die if you had a different opinion, and they wanted it to be where people could have a dialogue and differences without it becoming a state sponsored execution if you did so. But I get a lot of blowback when I tell people that the founding fathers did not differentiate either between Christian or even Muslim or Jew or any other infidel as they called it back then. And so
But
having a different religion in the United States is constitutionally protected, and it was a part of what they believed needed to be. Because if you look at the
mhm.
Freemason ideology, they have a Quran, they have a Torah, they have a Bible, they have the Hindu Bible in there. They have all of that in there because again, they're deists. They're not one religion, and they didn't want one religion to completely dominate. In fact, they wanted a separation
but
between
I think they still
Christianity
expected
and
it.
church and
I
space.
think they still expected the majority of the population to be Christian, of the Christian
Sure.
faith.
I mean, if you look at it back in those days, the majority of the population were white Christian men and women, right? So your expectation is at that point. However, along with all societies, they change. If you look at Rome, right? What is we talk about Roman culture a lot, especially within the white community in the United States, about Roman culture. Roman culture is an adaptation of several different cultures, even Persian culture, right? Because they intermingled Greek culture, Spanish culture, English culture when they conquered England. England was a slave colony of the Roman
Mhm.
Empire at one point, and even the Persians, right? So they incorporated all of this stuff into a culture, and it evolved over time. And if you look at it today, uh, Italian culture today, it depends on where you go in Italy.
Yeah,
The
100%. I mean,
Sicilian
Northern Italy is
culture is
completely
different
different
than
than
the north,
Sicily. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so culture is always going to change. People are always going to change. And as we talked about briefly before we even started recording, I believe in humanity, that we are all from Adam and Eve, black people, white people, Asian people, everybody. I have a unique background, even though I am conservative. I come from East Oakland, California, where it was a very predominantly black community, but we also had a strong China market, little Chinatown in Oakland as well. So I come from a very diverse background where I see things a lot differently than a lot of other people who are in the conservative space. I don't think that true conservatism has a space for racism and bigotry, because true conservatism means freedom. Freedom is something that we should all want for everybody, right?
Mhm. I
So
would
if I
also
want
I would
freedom for
also say
myself, shouldn't I want freedom for somebody who's black? Shouldn't I want freedom for somebody who's Hispanic? I agree with
yes,
having
but
borders and immigration control, but I don't believe that we should stigmatize anybody who doesn't look like us or sound like us or eat
Hmm.
the same food as us.
Hmm.
Let's be honest, white food is pretty bland and tasteless.
Unless you're in the South. Unless you're in the South, it's pretty good.
But the South got their food from who?
Yeah, from black people, yeah.
Right? So go ahead. What you were gonna say something?
Well, I think the biggest thing between like the left and the right, I would say it's not, stuff like, oh, do you support subsidized healthcare? Do you support less military funding or more military funding? I would say it's more or less a philosophical belief, and that is, do you think it's morally good that equality should be enforced? And I don't think equality necessarily needs to be enforced. I think inequality is a part of life. And I don't think like saying, "Oh, I don't think Somalians should be in Minnesota." I don't think that's racist to say, and I don't think that even means you dislike Somalians. I just don't think it's a right to help everyone. I don't think we necessarily need to help everyone from everyone in the world.
I mean, I agree with that. As an American first, it's not our obligation to help everybody in the world, especially when we're trillions of dollars in debt and we have
Hmm.
homeless veterans and homeless people across this country. I will say, what the Somali community has been stigmatized and targeted thanks to Nick Shirley's debunked
Hmm.
video. And
Hmm.
I personally have debunked it on some of my videos, and real journalists on the ground have clearly debunked it.
About Nick Shirley's video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Most everything he said was complete nonsense.
Really?
And he's showing up to daycare centers. Go to any daycare center in a white neighborhood with masked men, 4 or 5 deep, and microphones and cameras, and try and open the door and see what happens. They're not going to
Oh
open the
yeah,
door.
100%.
Safety of
100%.
children. The other
Yeah.
problem is it was clearly debunked that he's showing up when they are out of hours. Why? Because the kids are in school at 11 a.m. They don't come to the daycare until after 2 when they're out. Because I know a lot of Somalis, they're working 2 and 3 jobs. So they take their kids to daycare after 2 when they get out of school. They pick them up sometimes at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night because they're working multiple jobs because they're mostly immigrants, right? So they're not getting high wages. They're working the jobs nobody wants.
Yeah, no one else wants to work. Um, but also, I think that's a thing. Is I think that billionaires and big corporations, I think they like mass immigration because they can hire those people less. Because like white Americans or even like black Americans won't necessarily work those jobs, but
No
immigrants that are
doubt.
making maybe $1 a day in Somalia or Bangladesh or Pakistan, wherever, they will work those jobs because it's still a lot better than what they would get over there. So I think that's wrong because I think those jobs, like say in the 1950s or 60s, those jobs did have a fair wage.
But
Um,
there is a difference though when you look at like the Somali community. The Somalis aren't coming across the Mexican or Canadian border. They're not here
they're
illegally.
coming over, and I think
They
it's like
came
fraud on all levels. I made a video how Lutheran Social Services gets paid by bringing Somalians over.
they do, and I watched that, but that doesn't mean that the refugee committed any fraud. The refugee
Yeah, well, we
is
can't,
coming over,
but
right?
they
They're
are,
coming
but they
over to
are,
make their life better,
yeah,
and they're
100%. And we
working these
can't blame
jobs
them.
legally.
We can't blame them as an individual, but also I just don't think it's our obligation to help them at the sacrifice of our communities and, you know, our societies. Because also a lot of Somalians are substantially on welfare compared, because, Minnesota has generous welfare programs. They're on welfare a lot more than, say, white or even black Americans in the state.
But the vast majority of people on welfare in Minnesota are white Americans.
They are, but
Not
per
no
capita, it's per
Somalis
capita
make up 80.
Somalians.
How what is the population of Minnesota?
I think it's like 8 or 7 million, and there's like 200,000 Somalians. Is
80,000
that
Somalis.
80,000? Okay, I thought it was
80,000.
200,000.
That's it.
Okay,
80,000. So the
really?
vast majority, like 85% of those on any type of social services are white
Yeah,
Minnesotan Christians.
but it's per capita. So even if we say like 80% of people on welfare are white people, and then 20% are, part of that 80,000 Somalians, that's still a very, very large amount. And per capita, that's large. And I think per
Right.
capita is the most
But
important statistic.
you're comparing to people that are born and raised in this country for
Mhm.
generations, right? To somebody who is a refugee immigrant just getting started who come over here with nothing. Now,
Yeah,
I think
but
that there needs to be some reform, and I understand this uh, very very well. So an immigrant cannot get on Medicaid. You can't get Medicaid or Medicare if you are not a U.S. citizen. It's illegal. You can't get it.
Hmm. Well,
So
even if you
what
go
they
to like
can
a
get,
ER or something, if you go to like a ER or something and you're an illegal immigrant, you
but
don't
again, they're
have to
not
pay. You can
illegal.
still,
Somalis are not
well,
illegal. There's a difference between like what we were talking about illegal, which I
legal,
am
legal
totally
or
against.
illegal, there's still like a drain on our social systems. Like even if you go to a hospital and you can't afford it, you will still get health care.
Okay, but remember, there's two things here. Now, even illegals pay taxes. That's a whole different subject. But Somalis are not illegal. They're here legally. Number two, the vast majority of
Through the
them work.
NGOs, yes.
The vast majority of them work, which means the vast majority of them are paying taxes, which means those taxes then go in to help who? White Minnesotans who are also on the same welfare system.
But if you look at statistics, they're a net negative on the social systems. They receive more in tax benefits than they pay in.
I would have to see those statistics because I haven't seen
Okay.
them.
Oh, okay. I
Send me
have them.
some. Send me some. If it's
All
true,
right,
send
I'll
me some
send you them.
stuff
I'll
and
send
I'll
you
make a
after this. Yes,
video
sir.
about it. But
Yes, sir.
what I know, because I work very closely with the Somali community where I live, we have about 40,000 Somalis where I live. This is the second most after Minnesota. Every single one I know are working 2 and 3 jobs, right? They're not on welfare. They're sending their kids to college. And the second generation Somalis, they're becoming engineers, they're becoming doctors, they're becoming business owners. I have several friends. One works for one of the biggest telecom corporations in the United States. He's been working there for like 12, 13 years. He's very high up in the company, first generation Somali, right? And so I know a lot of like a lot of the critique on the Somali community, and we can get into the other immigrants as well. But I want to point this out because as conservatives, we're always coming off racist when we say this, that they don't assimilate. Well, no first generation immigrant ever assimilates.
Well, I
It,
think I
it
think
the same
there's,
argument was said about the Irish. The same argument was said about the Italians. By the
but
second
those
generation, though,
immigrants,
they're
like
all
even,
speaking English. They're all having the same. They're all eating at McDonald's, right? Every Somali I know who's a first generation, like their parents were immigrants, but they're first generation, they all speak better English than I do.
yes, okay, but not all immigrants are the same. So say you have Irish or an Italian, or even we'll say like a Mexican or someone from Latin America. All of those people are Christian. They have family values. They do not believe in
Somalis don't believe in
polygamy.
family.
I mean, I would say Somalia, for example, like Somalia is a very war-torn country. I'm not even sure if they have universities over there. And I saw that Somalians didn't have an official like language until the 1970s, and it was in Latin alphabet because they couldn't agree and they didn't have an official written language because a lot of the population was illiterate. But say you have someone from Ireland or Italy or even Latin America, all those people are literate, Christian, and family values. And I think those people will assimilate into America a lot better. And even at that, I don't think it's all obligation to help those people. But Somalians, I don't see the benefit of bringing them over. And I don't know why they brought them to like the Midwest, for example.
So, as a Christian, you don't think it's beneficial to help somebody who is from a war torn country that was war torn because of Western civilization?
I think we should blame the American government for doing that, but I don't think the burden should be put on, the communities and the people that live there. Because none of us voted if we wanted Somalians over. None of us voted if we want to go into Somalia and destabilize the country. So why is it our responsibility, and why should we help those people at the cost of our communities and way of life? That's how I see
The
it.
same thing was said about the Irish.
It
During
was,
the
but
Great
the
Famine of
Irish,
Ireland, the same thing was said. Why should we help the Irish? We're not Irish.
but the Irish came over and they assimilated a lot more, and they actually, they weren't receiving welfare whatsoever. And I don't know why people come to
You
America.
sure?
I'm pretty sure. I don't think we had a welfare state like we did in the early 1900s, late 1800s.
We
It's
didn't
before
have
the
it
income
like
tax, so
that.
I'm guessing yeah, it was
We didn't
probably
have it
substantially
until
less.
FDR. But once
Mm.
FDR, we still had Irish immigrants that were coming over, especially
Yeah, in
with
a lot
all of
less
the
numbers. In
chaos
a lot less
between
numbers, though,
Ireland and them. But
because Ireland became a country after World War One, so this country became a lot more stabilized, and FDR was in power, got into power in the 1930s. Or
yeah.
yes.
But we had the IRA, we had the English occupation, we had a lot of infighting, we had a lot of Irish refugees who came over here, some of which definitely were on welfare, and we have descendants of Irish, I guarantee you right now, who are on welfare right now, Medicaid, who
Well,
are,
yeah, I bet I bet in the
you
deep
know,
South, there's a lot of Irish people in
right.
the South. Yeah,
But
but
that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
like per
Like
capita,
as
like
a conservative movement, it's either we're going to be closed off, and the only people who are going to be accepted are white Christians, and
but that's
just
how it
living
was
in.
before the Hart-Celler Act
And
in
if that's the
1965.
movement, the you're going to lose. You're going to lose
I don't
because
think that's I don't think so. I
the
think
only
that
way you don't lose is if you wipe everybody out who's not white and Christian.
well, I never said that. And I don't think that's what should happen. I think, we should look at who we have in this country. I think we need to deport at least, I would say at least 20 or 30 million people and a complete moratorium on immigration for about 10 years to just see who's all in this country. And are they actually benefiting the country? Have they committed crimes? And, what are they bringing to the table? And I think that's important. And I don't think like we should turn a blind eye and have this notion that all immigration is the same, all immigrants are the same, and all immigration is good because I think that's just it doesn't make sense. It's just wrong.
All immigration is not good, but at the same time, let's just look at a historical fact here, right? One of the claims that you say is that Somalis aren't good because they're about clan, and I don't know why
Mhm.
you conflate them saying that they're not family values. They're Muslims. That's like core to the entire religion is family values, much more so than what you have in secular United States or secular Israel. The family is everything. You don't disrespect the mother. You respect your parents. You work hard. You help the family. All of that stuff. But you brought up the fact that they have clanism, which is a thing. Um, but that still
I mean,
happens when you.
that's how Jacob Frey won against Omar Fedda because he
Yeah.
put the Darwe and the I think it's Narud. Correct me if I'm wrong. Narud clan against each other.
Yeah,
A
and
Jewish dude
that
putting
is a problem.
clans
That is
against
the
each other. I
problem
mean, I find that
within
ironic.
that is the problem within first
And
generation
that's
of
that's
pretty
a
much
very that's a
any.
very tribal that's a very tribal mindset. Very not American. Doesn't align with American ideals.
Yeah, I mean it's not American. It sounds pretty American to me. Hatfield and McCoys. I mean we've got that all throughout history. My own family has a history of clanism. So we have the Ku Klux Klan. My God, like we literally have an organization
But it's
named
like,
after a clan.
but it's not
So
like, oh, well, I'm
it is
not
a
going to
part of
vote.
it.
But
But
it's
you
not like,
have
oh,
to
I'm not
admit
going to
though,
vote
right?
for that guy
Look,
because
Jeb,
he's
you have to
Scots
admit
Irish
that
and
first generation immigrants are always going to be like that. They're always going to have
they
an
are.
affinity towards their home country, but it's always the second, third,
But
and
not
fourth
all immigrants are the
generation.
same. Like my family came over from Denmark and they farmed and they were settlers. They claimed they made farms in North Dakota. They weren't trying to receive welfare benefits and may or may not be doing daycare fraud scamming.
I mean that could be said, sure. I mean you could also talk about the
So it's
seven
completely different.
people.
Not all immigrants are the same.
You could also talk about the seven Americans that Donald Trump has pardoned, who were guilty of massive multi-billion-dollar fraud. Right?
Mhm.
They're white
And
people. Right?
I think it's important to expose fraud on all levels. I think fraud all around is wrong. But like even if we
But here's
ignore
the
like
question: Who was the mastermind of the entire thing that sparked this whole thing off? What was her name?
um what was her name? About the Somalians or
Yeah, because
um
everybody keeps
who
talking
was the
about the
mastermind?
Somali fraud, but it was a white Christian woman named Amy Bach,
Really? I didn't know that. But even
and under
like even for
her was
example,
Sharon Ross and Hannah Morkeegan.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Like even fraud or no fraud, like in Fargo, North Dakota, for example, which I used to live there. Like that town used to be completely safe, but it's half Minnesota, half North Dakota. So it's like Fargo and then Moorhead's on the Minnesota side. So a lot of the Somalians will come over to Fargo eventually. And like that town was completely safe, but now you see like any shooting or anything like that, it's always a Somalian in the newspaper. Always.
Every
And
time.
there
Like if
I
I
would
look up
say I would say about
some tweets
80% of the
right
time,
now,
yeah.
you're not going to have any white people doing crime there.
I bet, but if we look at per capita, overwhelmingly it's Somalians for the numbers that are there. Even in Minnesota, the same thing.
And
So I
look,
think
I got
fraud
no
or no
problem. I'm
fraud,
about law and order. If you commit a
mhm,
crime, you should do the time,
go to
right?
jail and go back. Even if you become like even if you're a citizen, like you became a naturalized citizen, I think you should go back if you commit a crime. And I don't think that's a crazy statement to say.
So what
It's
about
not,
what about white people if they commit a crime? Should they go back to Europe?
well, if they've been born in America, it's a little different.
So if a
But
Somali born an American does it, because I guarantee you the majority of the people that would be committing the crimes are young Somalis. Maybe that they got mixed up in a gang or something like that. So
mhm.
they're probably born here.
Well, I don't think they should have came over in the first place. I don't think their parents should have came over.
So you think if they're born here and their parents came over legally, I mean, you can argue it all you want that you don't agree with it, but it was legal. They're not illegal
Mm.
immigrants crossing the Mexican border.
I think we need to stop legal. I think we
Okay,
need to
right,
stop all
like you could
immigration. Yeah.
do that. Like I agree. Like you could go and you could do that. You could say, I want to vote to stop immigration. The problem is they came over legally. They became US citizens. Their children are born in the United States. They are US citizens. So do you want to change the Constitution to say that I don't want them to be US citizens? A, that'll never pass. That's a pipe dream that's not going to happen. B, it's unconstitutional on its head, right? If you come here legally, you were born here, you're a US citizen. Nobody can strip that
Mm.
from you.
Yeah,
If you
but I
came
mean,
over on fraud,
mhm.
then they can strip that from you. But even then, you're talking about a 4 or 5 year court process to even have that happen, and it's extremely rare.
Yeah, and I wish we didn't have to do that court process. I wish it could just be like, you're illegal, you're not a U.S. citizen. Um,
But Jeb,
why do
isn't
the
that what
rights of the
makes America great? The fact that we have a bedrock of a legal system, imperfect as it is, but everybody gets a day in court. And that's why people want to come to the United States. That's why people want to be like the United States, because they come from dictatorships that say, man, I don't like you. You die. I don't like you. You go to jail. You never get a
Yeah,
day in
but
court.
they're illegal and say they commit a crime or something. Like we should just send it back. Like why do they
They
have
do
to?
that
It,
already. They
I mean,
already do that. If you're here illegally, you're not a US citizen and you commit a crime, boom, you're gone. After you
I
do your
don't.
time, they literally take you from prison. You never get out. They take you from prison,
Mhm,
take you straight into ICE custody, and they deport you. That's
mhm,
already a system. We already do that. But what we're
mhm.
talking about, and like you and me, we do not disagree at all about illegal immigration. 100%. We cannot have illegal immigration. My own family has dealt with legal immigration, that process that took 2 years, thousands of dollars, massive headache of paperwork, completely unreasonable. We went
Mhm.
through all of that the right way for a family member in my family. So I agree that nobody should be jumping the line. Nobody has the right to just, I don't know, cross the border because they choose to. You can't go to Mexico and do that, right? They'll deport you real quick. So we have no
Also,
disagreement there. But
I
if
also think,
somebody's here legally, we can't retroactively go back and say, well, now we don't like you anymore, so now you have to leave. That's like
but
that
I think we
violates.
can do that. I think we can do that. I do. I think it should be like. I think it should be like a tier system almost. I should be like, have you committed a crime? For sure, got to go. Are you on welfare? We'll look at your background. And are you a net negative or a net positive on our tax system? But I think if you've been here for say like 10 years, or even like 5 years, I would say, and you're legal, you can stay. But if you break those like those three things, you got to go back. That's how I see it.
But that has to apply equally to all ethnicities
Yeah.
from
Well,
all
yeah,
regions. So
100%.
white people
100%.
on welfare are a net negative to
Yeah,
the
they
rest
are.
of us. I
And
pay
there's
a
a lot of
lot of taxes every
yeah, yeah,
single
and
year.
there's a lot of 100%. There's so much white trash. I completely agree with you on that. But
So
like
do
they're
they
born
got
in
to go
America, or
back
even
to
like
Ireland, England,
no, or like
Spain?
even like black people in America, which I don't really consider Somalians black, and I don't think black people do either. But like black people in America and across the U.S., like systematically they'll be on welfare more per capita, or they'll commit crimes more than white people per capita. Like we can't send those people back because black people have been in America like even longer than myself, so they're essential to American culture. So
I
yeah,
mean,
we
you
can send
literally
those people back.
that, but that's the point. You have
Yeah,
Somalis who've been
but
here
like
longer
Somalians
than
aren't
you've been
essential.
alive.
Somalians only been here for so long. Like Minnesota used to be this great, beautiful, nice state, and then they just brought a bunch of Somalians over, and I'm just like, why would they do that? And the Democrats love this immigration because those people always vote for the Democrats because the Democrats,
But
provide these
but do
generous
you know
welfare
why they
states.
vote for Democrats? It's not because the Democrats are great people.
It's because the Democrats are
because they
very
don't feel
globalist.
accepted by the conservatives. Like when we started this conversation,
Well,
you said
I
that
don't
Israel
want
was.
them like I don't want Vivek Ramaswamy a part of the conservative movement. I don't think those people are a part of the conservative movement because I don't think they really understand America. I think they see America as a place to work, make money, and that's it.
So what is America?
I think America is a community and it is a culture and it has a very strong culture and American culture is very
But,
important.
but which culture? I can name a dozen American cultures
The
right now:
cultures
the
that founded
Chinese
America.
American culture, the Italian American culture, the
Yeah.
Irish
So like
American culture.
yeah, those are people that, originally
Which
founded American
culture?
culture and they all assimilated and they had these ideas. I would say, I mean, we look at the WASP diaspora, the Germans in the Midwest, it's a lot of, Norwegians, Danes, Swedes. Um, you go to like the East Coast, for example, you got the Italians and even like, there's Jewish communities. Go to like the Southwest or even like I'd say the South, to be honest, like Texas, you got a lot of Mexicans. So I think those people are essential to American culture, but I would say Somalians are not. And it's not our obligation and right to help those people, especially at the cost of our communities.
At the cost though, but
I was
I mean
talking to
we have
I
we
actually
have
went to the
350
Leary Center.
million people here. You have across the entire United States, you have less than 100,000 Somalis.
Mm. But like in the Midwest, it's very, and they just like, you talk to anyone and they just like, okay, I got an example. I know this guy and he worked in the hospital for Fargo for a long time and he always despised the Somalians because they always would come in, complain about their care, how long it's taking. One time they had to have a translator because you have to provide a translator in a hospital if someone, needs care. And obviously those people aren't paying either. And they brought the translator and the translator's like, I don't speak this person's dialect. And it's just like, why is it our obligation to help these people? Like, why? Like, and I think it. I don't think it's our right. I don't think it's a part of the conservative movement to want to help these people. I think that's a very leftist ideology.
So would you say Jesus was a leftist then?
I
Because
wouldn't say.
Jesus wanted to help
I wouldn't
everybody.
say. I mean, help everybody's a stretch, and I don't think it. I really don't think we should help people who can't help themselves.
But again, I mean, like I know a lot of Somalis. They're engineers, they're
Yeah, yeah,
doctors,
and
they're
that's true. I mean, you got
medical
good people.
carriers.
You got good people everywhere in the world. You got bad people everywhere in the world. But I don't think you need to bring over.
So you don't think
I don't
in
think you need to bring over like say like you have 100 Somalians and five or 10 of them are going to be net positives on the tax system. I don't think it's benefits us bringing over the other 80
how
or
many
90 that aren't.
Jeb, how many Somalis, honestly, how many Somalis do you know?
I used to know some when I went to school in Fargo.
How many? Two,
Uh,
three,
Probably like five. And
five.
when I was at the Leary Center, this is another thing I had to tell you. I was at the Leary Center, and this dude started recording me. I just took a picture. I just took a picture because I was like, in Minneapolis, might as well go see it. So I took a picture, and this dude starts like recording me, and he's like, "Look at this white supremacist falling for propaganda." And he took a picture of my girlfriend's car and license plates because these people are violent. And I actually went and talked to him. And I was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" Because I'm like, I always like to talk to people whether they disagree with me, agree with me. I think it's important for everyone to have conversation, especially those who disagree with you. And I talked to him, and he was like, "Well, what is white culture? What is American culture? There is no American culture." And he was like, I was like, I don't think Somali. I was like, I think if Somalians want to come over here and work and do good, that's fine, but they just aren't. And I talked to him, and he didn't. He was like, "There is no American culture. There is none." And that's how these people think. That's how a lot of them think. And it's just like, it's sad. And I don't think it's conservative whatsoever to support these people. It's not, and it's wrong.
But
It's not America
you're
first.
looking at every like you're judging an entire ethnicity of people based on you having some
No,
contact with five
that's
people
just
in
like
high
that's just an
school.
example. That's just an example. This wasn't in high school. This was like the other day, and this was like a
I
grown man.
know, but I'm saying like you said you knew five Somalis, right?
Yeah, in like elementary
I
school.
know
But
hundreds.
like I,
I know
but,
hundreds,
but I got
right?
plenty
I
of
know their
stories.
kids.
I
I
talked to
cut
so
their
many people.
hair. I know their favorite superhero, right? They're wearing Iron Man shirts, and their favorite movie is the Avengers, right? So when you say they don't assimilate, it's because you're basing it off of this view from a bubble that you see some
You can
stuff
talk
on
to
the internet.
anyone. I know so many people from my college, they're from the cities, they're from Minneapolis. You talk to any of them, and they're like they call it Somaliapolis, and there's like areas you can't go, you have to avoid. And it's like it wasn't like this in the 1980s. Like I mean, you look at videos of Minnesota, Minneapolis, it's a nice state, and they had this generous welfare state, the same way that like say Sweden or Norway has these generous welfare states because it's a very culturally homogenous society. It's a very high trust society. So you can have those generous welfare states. And that's how it was. And that they took advantage of those.
I mean, I'm not from Minneapolis, so I'm not an expert. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Minneapolis, but I do
But you're
live
right.
around.
I haven't interacted with a lot of Somalians. I'll
We
say
have
that right
about
now.
40,000 Somalis where I live. I have a lot of friends from the community, and I know a ton of them, and I interact with them all the time. And every single one that I know would give the shirt off their back. But if they feel like you're attacking them, and you have to admit, they on the social media,
They do.
even by the president and the vice president of the United States, they are under attack right now. And so, of course, any natural human being would say, I want to defend myself.
They're going to
and you're
side
gonna
with the
play
Democrats,
dirty.
or they're going to side with their own communities. Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Because, and that's the thing, as conservatives, and this is why I've been trying to push this, as conservatives, if we want to win the battle of ideas, we can't start off by saying, you're not included, you're not included, you're not included.
I
Now,
don't think equality is a moral good. That ties back to one of my like main philosophical beliefs. Okay, like another example I got. Okay, Dearborn, Michigan, for example. Like this ties back to like not all immigrants are equal. Like the Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, I have a lot of them that follow me, and I've even been on like two of their shows to get different guys' shows. They consider themselves very American. It's very middle class. They aren't getting a lot of government benefits. They celebrate 4th of July. The Christians and Muslims get along very well. And also because most of those immigrants that are in Dearborn, Michigan are, from Syria, Lebanon. So those areas, they have hospitals, they have universities, they have highways, they have Christians and Muslims living amongst each other. So those people are able to assimilate into America easier. When Somalia, it's a completely different ballgame. That country has been destabilized. They didn't have like really a language till the 1970s. They had in the they turned into the Latin alphabet. You can look that up. So it's not all immigrants are the same. And I think to act as if they are
Well,
is
you're comparing apples
is
to oranges. The immigrants in
yeah.
Dearborn have been there since 1921. They started coming over in 1921. They
Yeah,
have over
but those
100
immigrants are different.
years.
Not all of them. I talked to guys. A lot of them came over. When Israel became a country, like
Right, I know, but what I'm
Palestinians too.
saying is they have a long history in Dearborn. So over 100, you have multiple generations
Okay, well, you
of
you
people
said
versus the Somali community. They've only
well,
been
you said
here since 1991 was the beginning of
yeah.
their immigration. So they
Well, I
haven't
mean
really had the
that's still
time yet.
like that's still what about like 35 years. So I mean
But that's what I'm saying.
that's
One
a
of
lot
my
of time.
best
I mean,
friends,
I
one
know
of my best friends, he's
Mexicans.
an engineer, right? His parents both came over here from Somalia. They were refugees from Somalia. His dad worked 2 or 3 jobs to put him through college, right?
And that's great.
Mom was a stay-at-home mom. He now has kids, right? I cut their hair. Like, I know their favorite superheroes. I know their favorite movies. I've watched them grow up from babies until, one is almost 18, right? Wants to go into the military, right?
That's
So
great.
that's
Like
that's
even
what I'm
for
talking about. We're now talking about third generation. So when
but
you're talking about they don't
that's not
assimilate,
most of them. That's not
but
most
it
of them.
is.
But it's not most of them.
Again, my experience is of being in and around the Somali community a ton is that as their kids grow up in the United States, they assimilate to the United States. Yes, they still have their religion. Most of them, some of them have actually even just kind of left religion altogether because they've assimilated so much to the United States. But they assimilate. Of course, the first generation is not going to, but you say they don't have a language. Okay, great. Well, they have a language now. It's called English because that's what they learned in school, right? And
But
that's what they
I
speak.
also
And that's what
saw another
they
thing.
write. And that's what they go to university with. I know
There's some
2 Somali women who started a investment fund to invest in properties. Both of them were very successful property entrepreneurs. They owned tons of properties, Airbnbs, rentals, all that stuff. And they did it from scraps, went to college, did everything right. They're born here in the United States. but they're very observant Muslim women, right? Now they are running a very successful investment fund, right? Making their investors a ton of money buying multifamily rental spaces, fixing them up, and then selling them back on the market 3 or 4 years later. So
And
that's
that's
what I'm
great,
saying
but
is
that's not
we
most of
can't.
them. That's not. And to say that it is just it's just like turning a blind eye. It's just like I'd say it's more dangerous to be blind to race than be like I
But
think
what
it's
is
dangerous to be blind.
where is your statistical evidence that it's not most of them?
Okay,
Because
like it's not.
where does it say that most
I
Somalis
mean,
don't work?
most of them are on welfare. I mean, if you look at schools in Minneapolis where it's majority Somalian, that school is going to be more likely to be not proficient in math and not proficient in reading compared to, a school in, say, rural Minnesota or rural North Dakota. And we can, talk about the education system because I think there's a lot of problems wrong with the education system. But I mean, it's just a fact. I don't think, like, if all these Somalians are so great and so innovative, like, why don't they build Somalia into this great country? And if they love Somalia so much, why don't they build Somalia into this great country? That's
I
how I
don't
see
know.
it.
Maybe because the United States keeps attacking them.
But
Like
yeah, and I think that's wrong, 100%. I wish our American government was never involved in the Middle East, and the only reason we're involved in the Middle East is because of Israel, and they buy out our
every time
politicians.
countries like Somalia, Sudan, every time they start building up something good,
Yeah, the U.S. goes in
we
there,
attack them.
100%. Like the Middle East, I think it was somewhat like Libya, for example. Libya had the highest it was the richest country per capita in Africa. And, they had highways. It was a very stable country, but we went in there and took out Gaddafi. I mean, and that's sad. Or like even for Iraq, for example, like yes, and Syria, like Bashar Assad and Saddam Hussein, they were, probably authoritarian, bad dictators, but the country was a lot better and a lot more stable under those dictators than what it is today.
I mean, I have
And
a
it's
friend from Iraq. He's
mhm,
an older gentleman, and I was talking to him at the beginning of the Second Gulf War, and I asked him. I said, "Do you support it?" Even though he's Shia and
mhm,
Saddam was Sunni, and
mhm,
even though Saddam was he was Ba'athist, so he was secular. Um, do you support overthrowing Saddam? And he said no. And I was intrigued by that because the Shia were oppressed by the Ba'ath Party under
mhm,
Saddam Hussein. And I said, why? He said, because under Saddam Hussein, prior to him, our literacy rate was about 10%. After Saddam Hussein, within 15 years, our literacy rate was 92%. He's
mhm,
like, I went to the University of Baghdad and became an engineer, did all of my studies. He paid for everything, even though I was a Shiite. The only problem with him was if you got involved in politics, it was a dangerous game and you could die. But
mhm,
outside of that, he built all our highways, he built all our hospitals, he built all our colleges, universities, schools.
mhm.
Everything was free. It was all paid for by the state. But was he a dictator? Yeah. And so, what his worry was, if the United States overthrows him, what's going to be in his place? Well,
Yeah.
we did that 20 plus years ago, and it is still a train wreck in
Yeah,
Iraq.
it's still just destabilized, and it's really sad because I think like you get the Democrats and you get Republicans, and they're both like, we need to spread democracy and spread freedom. But I don't think that democracy and freedom is for everyone. I think that people naturally build, the form of government that because there's different family structures and stuff like that. Like in most of the Arab world, it's the clan family structure, and like Russia has a different family structure. That's why like different governments are different ways there are. And I don't think this whole idea of spreading liberal democracy, that's like all because of Israel. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 sad.
So, do you
But
think America should just deport all people of Somalia, even if they were born here?
um all people Somali if they were born here. I think we need to go to the tier system I said. Like committed a crime, are you on welfare, net negative or net positive on the tax system? I would say that's what we need to do.
So,
But I would
but
say like we
but
need to stop.
is that just for Somalis or is that
No,
for
that's
everybody?
for everyone. That's for everyone, yeah. That's for, Mexicans, Chinese people, Indians. We could talk all day about the H-1B1 visas and how I think that's terrible.
No, I
But
agree with that. The
yeah,
H-1
those
visa
are taking
system has
like
been clearly abused by
because
corporations.
those those
I
are
don't
people.
fault the Indians for coming over here and taking advantage of it because the opportunity
Yeah,
for them to get
but
out of the
that's like the
ghetto of
corporations
India,
and the government
they're going to take
because
it.
they
But the
can
corporations
because
have
those
absolutely done it.
Yeah, because
I mean,
they'll get.
I was a general contractor and I worked on a lot of big projects with big builders. And when I would go into a big project, I mean, it would just 90% of the workforce there was absolutely illegal, 100%. And they
Mm,
knew it. All the social security numbers were fraudulent and they knew it. And these guys, I mean, I had nothing but respect for them because they were absolutely fantastic craftsmen at what they did. And they were working for pennies on the dollar compared to what we were getting, right? But it's these big mega corporation builders that were taking advantage of this. And I think that that needs to be fixed. We need
mm,
the laborers. Just a very simple stat. By the year 2030, just a few years from now, we're going to have 30% of our skilled contractors retire. 30%
really?
without a replacement. For every two that are retiring, we're only getting one as a replacement. And that one replacement is only staying in the field for about 2 to 3 years. And then they're giving up and they're going to do something else because construction is tough. It's a hard
Mm,
job. Most people don't want to do it. If we don't either build robots who can do it, which is what they're trying to
yeah.
do, but it'll never happen in the next 10, 20 years,
Mm. I
then we
think,
have to
and
have
I
that immigration.
Yeah, we
Or
do, but I
we're not
also
going to have
think we
hope.
could. I think we could pay people more. I think immigration creates it so there's it's like supply and demand. If you have a lot more workers, you can pay them less. And it even goes back to like it's on such a deep level. If like you have mass immigration, like they did studies, if you have, groups of, say you're in the workplace, you have people that are like Irish descent, let's say you have Indian descent, Italian descent. If you a workplace with a lot more people of different cultural backgrounds, they are less likely to unionize and work together to try to get better wages. So
So do you believe
the
in
whole,
unions?
yeah, I would say I believe in unions.
Okay, so let me just put this to you. So I made really good money as a contractor, right? I was fully licensed general contractor, owned my own business. But when I started out, I made crap, right? I started out doing scrapping out houses with my grandfather, getting paid in Dr. Peppers when I was a kid. But then when I became an adult, I was still barely making minimum wage. And then when I became a journeyman, I made a little bit more. And then when I became a master craftsman, I made a little bit more. When I got
So
licensed, I
you're in a
made
union, right?
no. I've
Oh no,
never been
okay,
in a union.
okay.
I've always worked piece rate. I've never worked by the hour. So it was as fast as you can go, is more money you're going to get. Then when I got my license and we started our own company, then I made a lot more money because now I'm not paying a middleman, right? I go and I bid a job. I do a lot of the labor. Me and my guys, I'm getting the bulk of the money. But even if I pay my guys a fair wage, I start my guys off at $20 an hour, which is a fair wage when you've never
Mm.
swung a hammer in your life and you're a
Yeah.
U.S. citizen. Okay, I'm coughing up money to teach you how to be a man and build something. I couldn't keep guys for
Yeah.
past that first
Yeah.
paycheck. So what am
Mm.
I supposed to do? Pay him $100 an hour? I guarantee you, even if I paid him $100 an hour after that first paycheck, I'm not seeing him again, because construction is an extremely
Mm.
difficult job to do
Yeah, it
day
is.
in and day out, 8, 10 hours a day.
I,
And
I
most,
work I work construction during the summers with my uncle, and yeah,
and
so
most
I
most
understand.
Americans are not going to do it. They
Most
want
Americans aren't
something
going to do it.
different, right?
And
Um,
I think what's happened, like in the 1990s, I don't know if you knew this, but 90% of Americans worked for a business with 100 employees or less. So basically, that means, everyone is working for pretty much smaller businesses, smaller corporations. But now, 90% of Americans work for a business with over 100 employees. So, people have became a lot more, they work for big businesses and stuff like that. So there's a lot more centralization, and those people can pay those people less. And I think that it's destroyed small businesses, and it's destroyed people's value of labor.
for sure. For sure. I mean, if you want to buy anything, you're either buying it off Amazon or Walmart, right? Where's all the mom and pop shops? They're gone. And they're never coming back. They're never
Or
coming back.
like,
You get
yeah,
boutique like shops and stuff, right? But even then, they're selling on Amazon just to make ends meet, because if they just solely rely on brick and mortar, they'll be out of
mhm.
business. We see it
or
all the
like
time.
or like how Dollar Generals are in every small town in the US, and they destroyed the actual like grocery store that might have healthier food than, ramen noodles and tuna and like
Yeah.
milk, you know what I mean? So that's another thing. So, yeah, it's crazy.
That's why I recommend that everybody, if they can, Stop buying these condos and these mass-produced homes with no yards. Get out. I mean, there's so much land, there's so much property. Get out, buy some property that has some land on it, and grow some of your own food. You don't have to, become a rancher or a farmer, but start growing some of your own food and raise some of your own
Mhm.
livestock. And that way
Mhm.
you can eat healthy, and you're also not supporting these mega corporations who, again, are all
Mhm.
mostly controlled by
Yeah.
Zionists.
How do
All
you
right.
how do you feel about like the housing crisis? Like, like houses are so expensive.
They're
And you got
expensive.
BlackRock and you got a lot of single
Yeah.
renter homes and I think I think almost like, and take this how you think. Let me know what you think about this. I think people should it should be like really expensive for people to own more than three homes. I think there's no reasons why you need more than three homes like ever in your life. So I think they should have like a really high property tax if you say you want that fourth home, because these single rent, like, that could be someone's home, but someone has that as a Airbnb or just like a rental, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I think Airbnb is a major problem, but it pales in comparison to the main problem. The main problem is
It's
still
like BlackRock.
not even them. Not
Okay.
even them. I know they get all of the heat, but being
Mm,
in the industry for decades, I can tell you the main problem is supply and demand. And the supply and demand that the Airbnbs and the Verbos and even what BlackRock is doing is about 5 to 7% of the total market. The total market is well under what we need. We need at least 20 to 30 new homes brought online. 20 to 30 million
mm.
brought online.
And also, I think like this goes back to like immigration, but like there's so many people that come into the U.S. So I mean, it's like it's all about supply and demand. Everything's about supply and demand. So I think that's another thing about the
It
housing crisis.
even the
But obviously, these
immigration,
immigrants aren't like buying houses and stuff
yeah,
like that. They're usually like
and
townhouses or apartments, stuff like
apartments.
that.
A lot
But
of apartments have a lot of immigrants. Um, but the main issue, and we've said this, is we have a major shortage in the labor market when it comes to construction. We just don't have enough qualified electricians, qualified plumbers,
mm,
qualified HVAC, master craftsmen in carpentry, etc. We don't even have enough building engineers. So we
mm,
have a major lack of ability to build more. It's not a lack of desire to build more upon the builder's perspective. We don't have a lack of buyers. We have an inability to bring more homes onto the market in a timely fashion. The other reason is it takes so dang long to build a house, the way that we build homes, which is completely asinine. It makes no sense the way that we do it.
mm.
If you
Like, how do you think would fix that? Like more like deregulation or like what?
No, we
Okay.
just the regulation isn't even a problem. We stick frame most of our homes in the United States, and what we need to do is move to a manufactured base home where you don't have all of this long curing time for everything. For just as an example, when you pour a slab, you have to let that thing cure before you can build on it.
Yep.
So now you just have this empty space just sitting there waiting to cure. Then when you paint a wall, you have to wait. When you do drywall, you have to wait. When you do the mud on the wall, you have to wait. When you do the stucco, you have to wait.
Mm,
There's all this waiting period
yeah.
in between. And then you compound that with the fact that we don't have enough skilled labor to even bring these things onto market, is why homes are so
Mm,
expensive right now, because we
mm.
have such an increased in demand. When I was growing up, you could buy a 2,500 square foot brand new house for $125,000 all day long. That same house today where I live is about 800 grand
Mm. Yeah.
in just 25 years. That's insane. But the reason is we don't have enough on the market, and we can't
Also,
put
I
enough
think
on the
like
market.
just inflation as well. Like, just simple as that. Another thing.
Inflation is a part of it, but it's not. The housing inflation is different than the rest of inflation because of
Because
the
of
fact
interest
that,
rates and stuff like
yeah,
that.
interest rates are involved, and then you also have the supply and demand. We have a way over demand versus what our supply is. More people are living home, and the issue is back in the 1960s, The average home was less than 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Now everybody's got to have a McMansion of at least 2,500.
Yeah.
Which they can't afford. They're going to be in debt for 30 years. They're probably going to end up defaulting on it at some point and lose everything. Whereas if we just downsized back to smaller homes, smaller single family homes of 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet max, those homes would pop up so much faster. But there's a reason we don't do it. And that's because
Society's so consumerist. Society's so consumerist, and it's like,
that
who
and
can just have
property
more? Yeah.
values. If
Mhm.
if you build a 1,200 square foot home next to a 3,000 square foot home, you've just lowered the value
Yep.
of that 3,000 square foot home.
Mhm.
So cities won't allow you to build those smaller homes,
Mhm.
right? And so we've kind of like caught ourselves into this catch-22 that you can't get out of it. We don't have enough labor, interest rates, inflation, especially on building materials, is ridiculous. For example, why don't we do rammed earth homes? Rammed earth homes are modern, they're beautiful, they're insulating, they're fireproof, they're bulletproof, they're basically going to be around for the next 1,000 years. Why don't we build with that? There's no drywall, there's no plastics, there's none of that stuff. Well, the reason why we don't do that, even though it's more economical, faster to build, and cheaper, is because you would then destroy all the drywall companies, all the paint companies. You
Yeah.
would destroy all these mega corporations like
So is there
Sherwin-Williams.
laws and regulations like we can't do? What do you say,
So most cities
ram?
won't let you do a rammed earth
Oh,
home, even though it's structurally. I mean, we have rammed earth homes around the world that are 1,000 years old and still standing, and people still live in them, right? And I don't know if you know anything about a rammed earth home, but
I
basically,
don't. I'm gonna have to look into it.
it's you take the dirt, which is everywhere, and you need a certain part of clay, sand, and cement. The cement is 10% the amount of cement that you would use in a traditional brick and mortar type of a home. And its insulating value is like an R30 on the walls. And again, it's earthquake proof, it's tornado proof, it's just a beautiful way to build a home. But most cities, they won't let you do it. And the reason they won't let
Really?
you do it is because
Are
the
they ugly?
corporations lobby the cities not to allow it to happen.
Really?
You have to
Yeah, that
basically
sounds
be
right.
in an unincorporated county in order to build a rammed earth home in the United States.
Really? I'll have to like, do they look like a normal house?
They're beautiful, beautiful
Really? Okay.
modern
Also,
home. Yeah, look,
oh,
everybody Google rammed earth homes. You'll be absolutely shocked. They're absolutely gorgeous homes, right? You don't have to put any drywall in. The wall itself is finished inside and out. So you don't have to do stucco on the outside. Once it's finished, it's finished. You don't have to do any drywall on the inside. You don't have to do any painting on the inside. It's very modern. It's very beautiful. Obviously not for everybody. Some people want white walls and all that stuff. They want drywall. If you wanted to do that with a rammed earth home, you could do that. You could put in drywall, but you don't need to. Like the finished wall is the finished wall. The insulation, the thermal mass, all of that, it's beautiful. But we don't do it because regulation. And regulation, why? Because we have lobbyists from corporations who say, don't ever
mm,
allow this to happen.
mm. I think we do have, like, I like to say, like, I voted for Trump. I don't know if you did. Like, I think Trump, the best way to describe him is a sad band-aid on America's bleeding wound, and I see it as like a Zionist, technocratic oligarchy.
You know,
That's how I see it.
I had this argument with somebody the other day. He's not actually a Zionist. Let me explain why. Donald Trump is a transactionalist. The thing about Donald Trump that people say is
He's a businessman.
his policy depends on the last person he spoke to that was willing to give him some money. Right? So he's a Zionist because Miriam Adelson gave him $250 million.
Yep.
But then he's a Qatarist because Qatar gave him $1 billion jet. And then he's a Saudiist because the Saudis said they're going to invest $1 trillion. Right? He's
Yeah.
wherever the money is going to go. He's always, and that's, if you go and look back at him throughout his entire philosophy of his entire career, is he's a chameleon. He's whatever it requires to be at that time. And I was warning everybody about this, like with Donald Trump in the conservative movement. You know, this dude was a Democrat. He was partying
Yep.
with Bill Clinton and all this stuff. And then
Going to
when
the Diddy parties and Epstein Island.
when it became expedient, he became a conservative. And now all of a sudden, you know, he's a conservative. But look at that. Look at that grotesque party he just threw at Mar-a-Lago where people are running around with animal heads on.
Yeah,
Acting
really
all
weird stuff.
and like cultish type stuff. Like, what is
Did
that?
you vote for Trump? Just curious.
I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Did you just not vote, or?
I boycotted the election this year because I hated Kamala Harris and I hated Donald Trump. Right.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm not 100% against Donald Trump either. I think there's some
Yeah,
things
me
that he
too.
has done is good.
Yeah.
I think there were some things that Biden did that was okay. But I think overall, most of what both of them doing is not going to
Bad.
get us out of
Like
our
Biden let in
problem.
10 million immigrants. We just had an open border. I mean, that was terrible, and it's going to be hard to really deport all those people. One thing I think like about the ICE raids is like, to me it seems like ICE isn't actually going after, like the real people. They're going after like these farm workers that are just working on the farm and picking crops, not really causing any problems, going back to their family. Like, go after the criminals, go after these people that are actually frauding the state government and the federal government. And I don't know, it just seems like they're creating a little bit of chaos. I have like a little theory that it's going to be like a next step almost towards like a police state, but I don't know how to like really articulate it or have any facts. But it just seems weird to me how they're not really actually. Seems like they really aren't deporting a lot of people,
Well,
which I wish they would.
It's because Stephen Miller, who is really like the mastermind, the evil mastermind, the Jewish pro-Israel Stephen Miller, who pretends like we got to protect white Roman culture, even though he's Jewish. His wife is very adamant that
Or
they're
like Jake,
raising
or
their
like Jake
kids in a
Lang.
staunchly Jewish home, right? So why he's got to go out and pretend that he's some white Catholic guy or something like that at
Yeah.
TPUSA? I don't know, but he went to ICE and he basically told them, you will deport 3,000 people. I don't care where you get them from, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, middle of
Really?
the street. I don't care. You will get it done or heads are going to roll. And so they did. They just started grabbing anybody and everybody they can, including 175 American citizens so far. Shooting
And
an
those
American
citizens
citizen in the
didn't like
face.
commit any crime or anything. They were just like normal people.
Yeah, just people
Or-
that are just
Really?
walking down the street. I mean, we just
Yeah, and
had a
I
video
think that's
of
wrong.
a 14-year-old kid walking to school. He's an
How do you
American citizen
feel?
born here.
How do you feel about that lady that got shot like a week or two ago? The Renee Good.
Well, I have a lot of dealings with law enforcement. My own daughter was a police officer. My former son-in-law was a police officer. And then I have a lot of special forces connections in the United States military, both active and retired. And I've had a lot of conversations with them about it. The first videos came out clearly unjustified homicide, in my opinion. Second video that he came out with his cell phone makes it look like he's justified if you don't know the law. So
Are you talking about where
DHS
he's recording?
Yeah, he's recording.
I've heard some people say that was AI.
No,
but I don't know.
The
Okay.
one that he's recording, it's real. It's real.
Okay.
DHS policy states that you cannot put yourself in front of a running vehicle, whether it's moving or not. You cannot
Okay.
stand in front of the
No,
vehicle.
that makes
The reason
sense.
why is because they had an audit about 10 or 15 years ago, and Border Patrol agents were putting themselves directly in front of a moving vehicle or a running vehicle and then shooting into the vehicle. And then it was found out that the reason they were doing this is to justify the shooting. So they barred that practice. You cannot do that. It goes against DHS policy, period. Border Patrol, ICE, all of them, they're all forbidden from putting themselves in harm's way. And if they shoot, it will be unjustified because they're breaking policy. So there's that part right there. The second part is, even if you say he was justified with the first shot because his body did come into contact with it, even though he's the one who put himself in there, even if that first shot is justified, the second two shots are homicide. And the reason why it's homicide, according to state law as well as federal law, is because he was clearly not in any danger. The vehicle was moving away from him. He had removed himself away from the hood of the vehicle. And if she was still alive, it is illegal for any police law enforcement to fire into a moving vehicle unless that vehicle is like going to do a terrorist attack and they're ramming into a crowd of people. But there were no crowd of people where that vehicle was moving. And therefore, at the very least, he's got negligent homicide waiting for him once the Trump administration is no longer in power. I think if a Democrat gets in there, that agent he's in a world of hurt, because we have tons of case law in the United States where police shot into moving vehicles and they were charged with negligent homicide and went to prison. And just because he's an ICE agent doesn't
Yeah.
save him from that.
I do think, okay, I have like a similar take. I would say, yeah, he shouldn't have shot her, but also, he was ran over 2 weeks prior. So he almost had like, I don't want to get ran over again. But also, it's just like, why was she there? Why was a 37-year-old mom protesting for Somalians, illegal Somalians in her community? I'm like, what are you doing? It was like a work day too.
Why do
I'm
you
like,
keep
don't you have a
calling
job?
illegal Somalians? They're
Well,
not coming over the border.
they were going after illegals. I think we need to go after illegals too. But like I just like why was she there? Like what do you have to gain by doing this and being there? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And if an officer does tell you to like stop, you should stop. You shouldn't just drive. I mean,
I agree.
but yes, they shouldn't have
If you
shot
have
her.
an armed
They had
guy
her
with a
license.
gun pointing at you,
Yeah.
stop the vehicle,
Well,
right?
it,
Stop.
like
That
and like
doesn't justify him shooting her, but
yeah, and he
for
doesn't need to
everybody
shoot her. I mean,
watching,
they
stop.
got her license plate, they got her everything. They could have came to her house later and charged her. But also, it's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you there? Like that's just how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am definitely not a leftist, even though I get called a libtard by conservatives all the time in my comment sections because I have a different opinion on things, and I think that's healthy and it's good to
I
have
do
that
too.
debate.
I have a lot of different opinion on things as well.
Um, and like for example, I'll bet that you probably get called some names in your videos for
Yeah.
your anti-Israel stance. But yeah, I think that yeah, I've got absolutely no problem with her being out there doing her constitutionally protected right to
Yeah,
protest.
you're right.
What she feels is a unjustified overreach of federal government. Got no problem with that. I would just say for everybody that's out doing it, for your own safety, please, for the love of God, if a man is wearing a uniform and he pulls a gun on you and he tells you to
Listen to him.
stop, don't rev your car, don't try to drive away because you are most likely going to die. And it's not worth you dying. If they arrest you, if they put you in detention, if they rough you up, at least you're still alive. But don't do what she did because you're just putting yourself at risk for absolutely no benefit. But at the end of the day, I think if I was on the jury, just seeing the video evidence that is out there, I would vote to convict negligent homicide. He had no reason to pull his gun out. And again, I've had this conversation with friends in law enforcement. And one of my friends in law enforcement even said, like, he defended him. But he said at the end of the day, though, he violated policy.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
so he, at the very least, he should be fired and never allowed into any type of law enforcement again. But most likely he's guilty of negligent homicide, even though my friend was staunchly defending his right to make that first shot, because in his opinion, he was hit by the car, even if he was the one who put himself in it. So that first shot was justified. But the second and third shot, that's where the problem
It gets a little Also, though, it's like weird to me, like leftists are protesting, so mad about Renee Good, but the Ukrainian woman, I think it was like in September, she got stabbed on that. It was like a train or a bus in North Carolina, and no one talked about it. And that dude, I'm like, why was this dude not in jail? He had like multiple other previous convictions, obviously mentally ill and just a nuisance to society. And he literally walked up to this white Ukrainian girl and just stabbed her. Just literally slit her throat. Everyone on the bus did nothing. Like, just imagine if the roles were reversed and that was a black girl and a white guy stabbed the black girl and everyone else on the bus was black and no one talked about it. Like, no one, the mass media didn't really cover it. No one really talked about it. No nationwide protests. And I'm just like, I think there's hypocrisy on the left and the right because, like, a lot of people on the right were like, oh, this is good, screw Renee Good. Like, but like that's still like a person that died, and how can you not like? I don't know. I think both the left and right like hate each other, and there's just too much division.
I mean, I
Also,
think like even if you go back to the young Air Force woman that was killed on January 6th by the Secret Service agent, I get some heat from the left because I don't think that she deserved to die. Right?
yeah,
Yes, they were breaking through the doors. Yes, she was told to stop. Yes, she had a gun pointed at her, and yes, she kept going. And yes, she got herself shot. It is her own fault for doing that. At the same time, I don't think she deserved to die. I think he could have fired a shot at the ground. He could have fired a shot at her leg. He did not have to shoot her. I think he center massed her. and took her out. There's so many different options that you
Yeah.
could have chosen the moment, and the fact that that agent never was brought to any account either, I don't think is right. I think he should have, at the very least.
My AirPods just died.
Oh yeah. I think at the very least, there should have been some repercussions for him shooting her, because I don't think that it was necessary.
Yeah. Do you want me to go get I got another AirPod. Do you want me to go get that real quick? You aren't like live, are you? Okay, I'll be right back. All right. Can you hear me? Another thing, it's like, how are you gonna talk about like the white genocide and great replacement and stuff like that, which are all very real things, and then support an ICE officer killing another, an ICE officer killing anyone in general, but like an ICE officer killing like someone's mother. Like, I mean, that was someone's mother at the end of the day. That was someone's probably sister or daughter. Like, I think that's how people should see it at the end of the day.
Yeah. So you brought up let's talk about that. That's a controversial subject.
Okay.
So our listeners will really get a kick
Audio.
out of this. The great
Is my audio working?
Yes, I can hear you good.
All right, good deal.
The great replacement. What is that? I find it a bit comical.
Okay.
Myself. I know that the white race, if you wanna call white a race,
Europeans. I mean, we could.
Yeah, the people.
And there's different diasporas in Europe. I mean, there's Western Europeans, Slavs.
The Great
stuff like that.
Replacement theory states that white people are being replaced by brown and black people, and we're going to be exterminated and all of this stuff. I don't see that happening. Yes, we will probably be a ethnic minority within the
Which
next
I think is
50
very
years.
bad. I think it's very bad. I think if white people are a minority, they will be slaughtered. I mean, look at Rhodesia. Look what happened to Rhodesia. Look what's happening in South Africa, even in the modern day. Look what happened in India when the British left. I mean, look what happened in Mexico when the Spanish Empire, they left Spain. They killed a lot of white people in Spain. I mean, not in Spain, Mexico. Sorry.
I mean, you still have white people in Mexico.
You do, but Rhodesia is probably the best example of what would happen if I think white people came in a minority, and it is true. It's not a theory; it's 100% true.
Between the United States and that, so
there is, but I mean, more people are like Europe. Europe is
horribly tortured and oppressed.
Not really in Rhodesia. I've studied a lot about Rhodesia. Maybe like in Belgium it was really bad, but the British Empire was actually very benevolent. Built a lot of roads, hospitals, universities, and do you know where the term white supremacy comes from? The black people made it up because they just couldn't believe that the white people came on there and they had ships and they had all these advanced tools and all that stuff. They used to have a term in Africa, and I saw this from a black man, and I don't think it's true. I don't think any race is superior or whatsoever, but I do think there's a difference in the race, and you got to acknowledge that. But there was this saying in African tribal communities, if you're going to church and you see a white man, you don't need to go to church anymore. You already seen God. So that's where the term white supremacy came from. Which I don't
honestly think that there's not a difference between colonizers.
I think Rhodesia wasn't bad. Like there was black people that fought in the Rhodesian, like the pro-white Rhodesian army.
But you think that there's no difference, like in the United States where we have equality of law for everyone, every man, woman, and child are created equal. We all have the same rights. And that if we treat people like that moving forward, when white people do become the minority, which is inevitable, because
I hope not.
It's inevitable because the majority of the world is not white. I mean,
Yeah,
you just
and
can't.
it's like
the numbers are not going to change, not unless we start nuking entire.
Unless we start having more kids and we actually deport people. I think that's what needs to happen. Like Europe, for example, like white people used to be 25% of the world population in the year 1900. Now it's 7%. So like it's not a theory. It's true. Like the white like it's a fact.
But it's replacement because of the fact that hyper individualism in the West has lowered the birth rates.
It is, and I think
People
that's
don't
very
wanna
wrong.
have
And
kids because it's
I know,
all about them
I know.
and consumerism.
And it's terrible. And I like to say, like, all the wrong people have the most kids. I think intelligent people need to have more kids.
But
I think
even then,
it's
you're not. The numbers aren't going to equate. Even then,
I know,
it's a losing
and
game.
it is.
You
But
could tell,
I think
you could tell every white woman in the world to have 10 kids,
and
you'll maybe get 2% to actually do that. Because what white woman in the world wants to have 10 babies pop out of her, right?
Yeah, I know, and it's sad because people became consumerists. They've been self-centered, and they just care about themselves, and they don't think of the larger picture, the larger aspect. And I think that's not like a left or right thing. That's just like a problem with modernity. But I do think the white replacement is real. I don't know how we fix it besides deport more people and get away from this whole failed experiment of multiculturalism, especially in Europe. Because Europe was like, in America it's a little different. Yeah, like immigration has always been part of American culture. We can argue where those immigrants came from, and not all immigrants are the same. But Europe has like never been this culture of immigrants. And it's so weird to me because like white people are the only people in the world that can't have their own nations. Africa has Africans, no one bats an eye. If they say India should be majority Indian, everyone's like, yeah. I mean, China should be more majority Chinese. But if you're like, England should be majority English, people are like, oh my God, you're a white supremacist. But it's just like everyone should be able to write of their own nations, and you should love your own nations and be proud of your own nations. And that doesn't mean you want to hurt other nations, because it's almost like how you or me loves our own family and we're going to put our family first, but that doesn't mean we want to hurt other people's families. So I don't know how to solve this issue, but I think people need to recognize it, and that would be a start, because it's not a theory. It's 100% true.
But the counter argument to that would be, if you want to save Europe as a white continent, then how about 250 million white Americans go back to Europe? That'd solve the problem.
Because white people built America. Same
for the next 2,000 years.
They would, and I think in the future, I hope America like gets its stuff together, and I think that's what's going to happen, because I think Europe has become weak, docile, and decadent, and I think Americans become decadent as well. But no new inventions come from Europe. No, nothing. Europe used to be the place for inventions. I mean, just everything. But that didn't happen. I think it's because a lot of the best, bravest, and smartest men died in both the world wars in Europe. So I think that's what I
think there's still some pretty
there
cool
is
technology that comes out of Europe.
There is, but I'd say for the most part it comes from America or China or stuff like that. But
China is blowing us away. There's no
doubt. Yeah, there's crazy. I hear they have like factories like where it's like all AI, it's completely dark, and they are blowing us away. It's actually crazy.
I mean, there's a reason why they don't allow Chinese vehicles into the United States, because nobody would buy Ford, GM, or Chevy or any of that ever again. Because once you drive a Chinese car with just massive amount of technological upgrade in it, you wouldn't want to buy these overpriced, I had a Ford Raptor a couple of years ago, and I spent more time having that thing in the shop getting fixed, and spent almost as much money getting it fixed as it cost me to buy the stupid thing.
Yeah, because it's a Ford.
That I eventually I'd been a domestic vehicle owner my entire life. I finally bought a Nissan Titan. That thing now has 200,000 miles on it, and it's never been to the shop once other than oil changes and tire changes. Right? And that's not Chinese, obviously. It's Japanese, but the point is, yeah, we are losing technology.
Yeah,
I
and
agree with you
we
100%.
used to be the world's like manufacturer. We used to build everything, and those were good quality jobs, but we all shipped them off to, you know, China, Southeast Asia, and even Mexico. And it's just like we sold off good paying jobs that, you know, people would actually build stuff and they would get a fair good wage for cheaper stuff. But those cheaper stuff doesn't mean anything if, you know, people aren't making good wages. So it's just, I don't know. I think the multinational corporations and the Zionists have really like taken over our countries. That's
So
how
the
I see it.
conservative perspective is free economy, let the economy dictate whatever. But now we've ended up with multinational corporations that are dictating our foreign policy, they're
Yeah,
dictating our domestic policy. We don't have good jobs here. In the next 10 years, AI is only going to exacerbate that, make things worse. So as a young conservative American,
I'm not
you know,
super like I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm very. I would say economically, I'm like, you know, obviously like center right. I wouldn't say I'm like total like I wouldn't be like a libertarian when it comes to economics. I think there's too much business going on there's too much connection between politics and business and big business, and they've intermingled way too much, and it needs to be destroyed.
so what do you think that Donald Trump, who's the current president and in power right now, what do you think he should do to bring jobs back? Because tariffs ain't bringing them back. I'm sorry to
Man,
say for
yeah,
everybody who
I know
loves Donald
tariffs.
Trump tariffs.
I was excited for tariffs, but no, tariffs are not bringing them back. How do we fix it? I just think we need to make it very unpractical. Like I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how we fix it, but we need to actually have manufacturing jobs back in the U.S. And I think like our school systems, like I don't think everyone should go to college. I think it's like completely bogus that everyone needs to college because society used to function better when everyone didn't go to college actually. But so I think our education system needs to be reformed somewhat. When people come out of high school, I wish they could, you know, make a livable wage and work a good job. Besides, like when you come into high school, all you can do is, you know, obviously you can like work construction or like some low end like blue collar job, but like you should be able to be a welder, be a plumber, stuff like that. I think that should be encouraged. Or just I don't think a college degree should be required everywhere because I think that's a whole other scam. You go to college, you get in debt to make 50, 60K a year making PowerPoints or
It's
whatever.
big
Like, why do you need to
business.
go to college? Yeah, I think like
Universities are big business.
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Like I think obviously you know college for like doctors, lawyers, or even myself. I'm in college for aviation, but you don't really need to go to college to be a pilot. But it's encouraged, and I might as well. But
Actually,
you know,
I have a young Sudanese immigrant who is doing the same thing. He's going to college
really,
right now to become a pilot.
really, what college?
He's going down to Southern Utah University.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So he's doing really good. Same thing as, he was like, he wanted to do it through college rather than just going to an aviation school. So that way he has more credentials and
Mm,
better career aspects in the future for him. So no, I think that's smart. I agree. I think if you're going to get a liberal arts degree and you're going to put
yeah,
yourself $80,000 in debt, just go start a business. My God, what are you doing?
yeah,
Like seriously.
yeah. Like you aren't gonna
Nobody
like
cares about your
it's
liberal arts
pathetic.
degree. And a matter of fact, most of these corporations nowadays, they're not even caring about your college degree unless it's in a specialized field.
Mm-hmm,
They don't
mm-hmm.
care. What they want to know is what is your work experience and, can you code?
What are
Can
you bringing
you
to the table? Yeah, stuff
yeah,
like that.
what technological advances do you have to bring to this table? College degrees mean less and less, but they're more expensive. So
Mm-hmm.
as I say all the time, college, I learned more from reading hundreds of books than I
Yeah,
ever
me too.
did sitting in a classroom when I went to college. Like
Mm. Yeah,
for me,
I 100%
college was
agree.
great, but it opened my eyes to a lot of things and it started my journey in learning more things and becoming educated. But by having a library in your house, you're going to
Mm.
learn a tremendous amount more. Read a
Or
book every single week,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Or even like someone like myself, I read here and there. I'm not a huge reader. I probably should be, but like YouTube. YouTube's a great thing. Like I've learned so much on YouTube throughout the years. That's like stuff like that. I think there's like the school system. I don't think really anyone like. I think they like teachers. Like I mean, not like professors obviously in college, but I say like teachers, like high school, middle school teachers. I would say about like
10% of them were like, I want to be a teacher when I grow up. And the other 90% somehow got to a point in their life where they're a teacher. And like, I don't know. I don't think like I genuinely, this might sound bad, but like I was smarter than pretty much all of my history teachers. Like I corrected them sometimes, which whether they like that or not, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to fix the education system either. I feel like I see all these problems, but I don't necessarily have plans or solutions to them. But I don't know. I think that's something as I'll grow older.
The thing is having the dialogue and exchange of ideas. And
oh yeah, 100%.
You and I, we have our disagreements, particularly on immigration, legal immigration. We agree 100%. Illegal immigration is, that needs to be corrected, because you can't have that. It's not even that it's not fair to Americans, but it's not fair to the immigrants either, because I knew a lot of them when I was in construction. These are really good people, family people. They go to church, or whatever their religion was, or some of them didn't go to church, but they were just really good people. They worked their butt off.
And they're happy to be here.
Job site at 5:30, and the white boys wouldn't show up till 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Right, and then the white boys want to take an hour lunch. The Mexicans are taking 15 minutes on the roof, eating their lunch and getting right back to it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that well. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and I have no problem with Mexicans. I love Mexicans. I love Mexican food. I think they integrate into America great.
Taco Tuesdays.
Yeah, I mean, I love Mexican food.
You've got to fix the immigration problem, because if these guys are over here working illegally, then they're getting paid less. They're being taken advantage of, and we need their labor. Like I said, I can attest to this 100%. If we got rid of every single illegal Mexican, and not just Mexicans, there was Hondurans and Salvadorians as well that are in construction. If we got rid of all of them tomorrow, you think housing is expensive now?
Oh,
you think
yeah,
it's hard
it would
to
be
find
crazy.
a house now? You're looking at a $500,000 home going to $1.5 million overnight, because there's no new homes coming on the market without these guys. We just don't have the labor without them. So the solution has to be, we can't deport all of them. We have to give them work permits. You don't have to give them citizenship, but give them work permits. Give them a 2-year work permit, right? And if they don't commit any issues, they don't get a drunk driving, they don't do something to some girl or whatever, you give them another 2-year permit. Yeah. And every 2 years they get reassessed. Are you being a model citizen? You're paying your tax. You're doing everything right. You're not on welfare. You're not doing anything right, but you're working just like any other work visa. Boom, you're good to go. But you know why that doesn't happen? Because the multi-billion-dollar builders in the United States actively lobby against giving them status,
because they can exploit those workers.
Multi-billion-dollar farm industry. Because you can't take advantage of somebody if they have legal status.
It's terrible. I mean, I think it's a conservative. I think like the conservatives are even like split. Obviously, there's MAGA and America First, but I think like some conservatives have this idea of total free market capitalism, like almost like libertarian, like this is like a libertarian, and I don't really think that's conservative, because I don't think if you don't conserve the cultural values, the social values, then what are you conserving? You're only conserving your wallet, which is idiotic to me. So I think the conservative movement's also split in that. Like I think I think more conservatives need to actually focus on what benefits actual working class people.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
And, I mean, like, if you're gonna try and get young white men, young black men, young American men of all colors into the trades, right? There has to be an incentive for them to do it, because right now there's no incentive for them to go pick up a hammer and swing. They didn't grow up that way. I grew up that way. I'm 3rd generation contractor. I grew up swinging a hammer as soon as I could pick one up, right? I had toy hammers when I was a kid. So for me, it was in my blood. My grandfather's a contractor. My father was a contractor. My brother's a contractor. Like all of the men, even my little sister became a concrete contractor, and she's only like 5 feet tall and 100 pounds. So it was just, it's inevitable you're going to do this. That work ethic was put in us. A lot of young kids today, they grow up with Xbox, they grow up with, all these video games, and that's how they
Fortnite
spend
and
a lot of their time, social media, scrolling, all of that.
mm,
They've never built anything with their hands. A lot of
mm,
the trade classes in high schools are being taken out. Like they're not even
yeah,
doing them
they are.
anymore. Shop classes gone in a lot of high
Hmm.
schools.
Yeah, I
So
did shop in high school.
how can you expect an 18-year-old who grew up like that to go pick up a hammer when,
Yeah.
they'd rather play Fortnite?
Yeah, man, I think it's just, I think a lot of issues are just like problems with modernity. I mean, I think modernity has just destroyed a lot of stuff. Like even a lot of our, I mean, we have a very service-based economy now. We used to make stuff. Like people don't understand, like America, everything used to be made in America, from like, this pen right here to the refrigerator to the chairs. Everything was made in America, but that's no longer the case. And I think like when people were actually making things, their wages were higher and their value of their labor meant more. But when you're just like playing on the computer, making something, typing, it's the labor, the value isn't there. To actually get those people to bring that stuff back, man, I don't know. I think people are just so consumerist nowadays. People are just so, they just want instant gratification. They just want something new. They don't really see value in things anymore.
Yeah. It's the endorphin rush.
Yeah, it is. It's
If I'm not
dopamine
getting
overload.
yeah, if I'm not getting that immediate gratification, then I don't want to do it. Right? That long-term gratification of achieving something, building something, right? My youngest boy is in the military right now, and he just went in, and he's going to try and be special forces. But then as soon as he got in, he was like, "Oh man, Dad, I don't know. This is like being away from the family and everything. I don't know. Should I do this, or should I just go infantry and then just get out as soon as my time's up?" And I'm like, "No. You need to achieve every possible thing. You wanted to be special forces, go do it. Like there's gonna be sacrifice, long-term
Hmm.
sacrifice. It means you're gonna be away from the family longer. It means you're gonna have longer deployment in training. Yes, that sucks." And he just got married, so that's part of the reason why he's missing
Yeah.
home so much, right? So you've got to do that long-term commitment of sacrifice now so that you'll have that long-term gratification, which is much more fulfilling for not only yourself, but for your young wife, your future kids, for the family, for everybody. You're going to do a lot better if you do that and apply yourself. And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I can get through this." And he grew up tough. Like he's not sitting around playing video games. I don't let my kids play video games when they were growing up. I don't do any of that. Like you're gonna learn. You're gonna go to school. You don't get good grades. You're answering to me. Like you're going to succeed. Like
I think
tough
like another
love
thing is,
type
I
of
think
situation.
like I think feminism is a very big problem, and I think that's another just like product of modernity, because like it's just destroyed a lot of families, and it's just kind of destroyed. It's hurt men really bad too, because there's not so much strong fathers anymore.
Strong fathers
And
are considered toxic. And
yeah, I know
I'm
that's
not talking
yeah.
about the guys who want to have a pissing contest and prove how tough they are and they talk. No. A strong father is always there with hugs and kisses. A strong father, a strong husband is always there and soft towards his family, but goes out and does the hard things in the freezing cold,
When it's
earning a
necessary,
living,
for his family.
going to war, whatever it means. Outside the home, he is a Greek statue. Inside the home, he's a teddy bear, right? That's a strong father. That's a strong role model. Um, and you're right. We don't have a lot of that now, to where men today in the United States, in the West, but it's a particular issue I see here in the United States, where a lot of them are more effeminate all around, right? They're not the teddy bear. They're just
More just like
effeminate.
emotional thinking. I see it as like there's so much men that are just more emotional, not as rational in their thinking. So
And that's what makes men is the rationality, the logic, able to be able to compartmentalize things. Because, like, for example, if you go to war and you have people shooting at you, you have to be able to compartmentalize that. You can't get emotionally and freak out, right? Or you're just
yeah,
going to
yeah.
die, right? You have to be able to process these things, and that's how the male's brain, which is clearly different. Not saying we're superior to women.
No, but it
men,
is
I
different,
think,
and it's
incredibly
important to
intelligent.
point out. Yeah, there's a lot of intelligent women.
Yeah, so I think that we're just different in how we process things, and I agree. When men are emotional at things, we are definitely not at our best. We're not making the best decisions, and things fall apart. They always say, good times make soft men, and soft men make bad times, right? And strong men make good times. So I agree with that 100%. Final question. If you ever get to speak to Glenn Beck again, would you apologize for embarrassing him on national TV? Because it was pretty embarrassing for that poor
Yeah,
guy.
it kind of toasted his career, I'd say. Man, I would just be like, Glenn. Well, first I'd introduce myself. I would just have like probably just like a 15-minute conversation with him. Maybe apologize for embarrassing him. Be like, I didn't really want to hurt your career. I was just asking a question. I never expected
Don't
to go viral.
apologize for nothing.
Don't apologize. Never apologize.
100% correct.
I mean,
on
I
your
would.
business,
Yeah.
kid. Stand on your business.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't apologize. I would just definitely just have a conversation with him because I think it's important to conversate, whether you disagree or agree. I've talked to everyone. I talked to everyone of different political beliefs, which I think it's important to do. But yeah, I would call him out and say, I would be like, did you get a little nervous? Stuff like that. I'd love to have a conversation with him, but I don't think it'd ever happen.
So there's obviously a generation gap between me and you. So you're the expert in your generation. Do you think there are more young conservative men even under men, younger, the teenage boys that are coming up that have a similar conservative mindset as you? Do you think that the tide is completely turned on Israel? Like the majority of people your age is anti-Israel now?
Left or right, man. If you're young, you don't like Israel. You see you see right through their BS. And I'd say not like people I know. I'd probably say about 80% of young white men think the way I do. Honestly, even women. A lot of I'd probably say like. I probably put women just 50-50. My school isn't super liberal. Obviously, there's liberal people, but for the most part, I would say it's like moderate conservative. But yeah, man, the tide's totally shifted on Israel. I think the younger you get, the more you see right through it. Gen Alpha, I don't know. I think a lot of them are they woke up with an iPad in their hands. So I don't know. Gen Alpha's a little weird. I think Gen Z's kind of in that weird spot of like, oh, you still played outside and stuff, played in the neighborhood with kids and went to Toys R Us, but then you still like played Fortnite when you were older during quarantine. So it's a little like 50-50 mix. But Gen Alpha, I don't know. I think they've woken up with the internet in their hands their whole life. So it's a little different, I would say.
Yeah. I would just give one piece of advice to all you guys in your age range is, listen, there is a divisive politic narrative right now. There is a reason why, for example, the Latino community, right now the Somali community, the Dearborn community by Jake Lang, who is Jewish, not
Jewish.
Christian.
I made a video on that too. I don't know if you saw.
Don't fall into that narrative. I would challenge you, my friend. Next time you're in Minneapolis or in St. Paul, or if you come to Salt Lake, call some of the Islamic centers, call some of the community centers, and say, hey, listen, I just want to get to know you guys because I have an opinion that is relatively negative. And I want to know, is my opinion justified or not? I'm not coming with cameras. I'm not coming to make a video. I'm not trying to put you guys out there. I just want to sit down and get to know you guys because I haven't really had that opportunity before. And I guarantee you'll walk away from that a changed person.
Really? Because
I've done that my entire life. And every person that I've ever hated is always turned to be somebody. In fact, some of my worst enemies ended up becoming some of my best friends, like most loyal friends, right? Wow. And it's because I had a conversation. And I think that's why I do the Daily Rumble, because we talk about these very heated topics right now, controversial topics that a lot of people want to put themselves in one basket or the other. Oh, I'm left, or oh, I'm right. I always say this, yeah, I'm conservative socially because of my religious belief, but at the same time, I believe we should all have free medical. I think we're the richest country in the world. How come
If everyone works,
even
everyone
then,
works and pays in. That's how I see it.
Here's the thing: we have the natural resources in the United States right now to provide universal medical health care without a single tax dollar ever being paid. We have trillions of dollars in natural resources that we either don't exploit because of regulation, or when we do exploit it, all the money goes to the mega corporations and doesn't come back to the people. But if you look at like Qatar, if you look at Saudi Arabia, if you look at the UAE, if you look at Kuwait, even if you look at Israel, they even have free healthcare and they don't have a lot of resources. But if you look at these countries that are resource rich, they provide universal health care because that's like, if your government isn't providing that for you, then why the hell are you paying taxes to them?
Yeah.
Right? I can take care of myself. I can go pay for my own doctor if I don't have to pay $50,000 in taxes every year. Right? Well, I think that's one thing. Again, if you just talk to people, you get to know people, you get to know these communities that you don't know, you'll be shocked. The Somali community is very conservative. Very conservative. They only vote Democrat in
For the welfare.
Minnesota. Now, I don't know how they vote in Minnesota. I know they vote Democrat. In Utah, they mostly vote Republican. And you'll find like these are some of the warmest, caring people. They'll invite you to their home. They'll feed you. They'll laugh with you. Their kids will talk about superhero movies with you. Like all this stuff. They are genuinely beautiful people. But if you don't know them and all you see is anecdotal evidence of something, then you would think.
Well, I mean, I've met Somalians. I've met them like they'll be working and stuff.
Yeah.
Continue.
But you're a public figure now. You're a public figure, whether you like it or not. That question blew you up on the internet, right? To Glenn Beck. And now you're making videos. And so that, like I said, don't do what Nick Shirley did and half-hearted. Like honestly, like go and sit down. Because I think if I haven't met Nick Shirley, I invite him onto the podcast to debate me anytime. I'll absolutely destroy his narrative that he put out there.
I think he's too famous now. I used to
more genuine because when it comes to Nick, he very clearly has an agenda. Where with you, I don't see that agenda. I don't get that feeling that you have this agenda of getting clicks and views and all of this stuff. That's what Nick does. And I think that as a Mormon, he's kind of going against his church doctrine anyway, because that's not what the church
I didn't know
doctrine
he was Mormon.
And I'm not a Mormon, but I do know the Mormon doctrine very well because I've studied it. But I feel like Nick has this narrative that he's putting out there for a reason because he has an agenda, where I don't feel that from you. I feel like you're just a genuine young man. You've got a lot of good questions. You've got a lot of good ideas. You have some conceptions that I disagree with, but I'm also, twice as old as you, and I've lived a little bit longer. I've had a few more conversations. So I would just say, bro, go have some conversations. Call them up. Say, hey, I just want to come sit down and get to know you guys because I have this conception, and I don't know if it's actually real. I want to get to know you as people rather than as statistics or any of that type of stuff. And I think it'll make you a better man. I think it'll make you a better leader because I do see a bright future for you moving forward.
Thank you.
But you got to have those conversations.
Yes, sir. And I think it's important.
Conceptions away. And go sit down and have dinner with people and get to know them, get to know their kids.
Yeah, I did that with Jewish people. I went to a Shabbat dinner at TPUSA, and it was odd. They were nice, and they actually surrounded my table.
Did you say Shabbat Shalom?
I did not say Shabbat Shalom. I did not kiss the wall. I did not take the 7,000.
Every Christian says Shabbat Shalom every 5 seconds.
And we could talk about Erica Kirk. I have some opinions on her as well. But, I went there and I talked to the Jewish people, and obviously I think they're just very globalist. They want to socially engineer society. They hate the Roman Empire, which I see the modern-day Roman Empire as America, white people, and Christianity. But that's a whole nother conversation, and I would love to have another conversation about that.
But like I went there and I talked to him. I think it's important for everyone to talk to people. And like even when I went to the Leary Center and the dude was recording me, we had like a 15-minute conversation and we had a good conversation.
Yeah. And I think that there's Jewish people. Like I said, I get accused of being an anti-Semite. I'm not anti-Semite. First of all, I love the Jewish people. I love the Arab people. Both of them are Semitic. So I love Palestinians. I love Jews. And prior to the creation of the Zionist state of Israel, Jews and Arabs lived together peacefully in Palestine. Palestine
Till the
for
Zionists
generations. Right. There was never an issue. And there are good Jews in the world who are anti-Zionist. There's a lot of them. So, yeah, I agree. I think you just have to have more conversations. I think all of us do, and I think that's what we're doing in this public space is having these conversations, and people get to hear different viewpoints. Joe Rogan gets a lot of heat from people on both the left and the right, and the reason is because he says, I don't give a damn. I'm just going to talk to people, even if I disagree with them. Like I just want to have conversations, get to know people's viewpoints. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll have a conversation with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Hope I do as well someday.
Well, listen, Jeb, man, I thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you for having me on. Man, we had a lot of good conversations. I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. So keep going in your aviation career and keep making content. Absolutely think that you have a lot of good to bring to the table. Of course, nobody's perfect. I mean, unless you're me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not perfect. Right. But yeah, keep going, brother. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Everybody check out Jeb. I'm going to link his social media stuff down in the description below. And you guys know the deal. Follow along for more Daily Rumble.